Everybody, welcome back to Flying Pig United, back with another fan debate show to talk about the current ownership situation. At least we've got somewhere now with the ownership. Is it something we want? Yes, no, we'll decide that, but we've got somewhere at least. And we've got two great people with me today. Eddy, how are you doing?
Yeah, it's good to finally be back on, Flying Pig United's channel. Big up to everyone in the chat. Hopefully you're hitting the like, subscribing. And it's good to have, I guess it's kind of good to have some closure on like what's going to happen with some of this. It's not a takeover, is it really? It's like potential takeover with Sir Jim. So we're going to see what happens. But anyway, it's good to be on with you guys.
Mm-hmm. Always good to see you, Eddy, and Griffo. Great to see you as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back. We've not done one of these for a while. It'd be nice to sort of get stuff off the chest.
For sure. Got a lot to say. Jarvis also will be coming on very soon too. So we'll say hello to some people in the chat, and then we will get talking with the latest news what come out in the last 48 hours or so. Alex Core in the chat says Sir Jim isn't in it for the money. Hey there, Kieran. Thank you for coming into the chat. Hey there, John Boy Cat. Thank you for
coming up, John Boy.
Sanjay has done the flying pig emojis. Great to see that. Thanks for coming into the chat. Big up as well to Ed. Thank you for coming into the chat. Hope you are well.
Yes, big up, Ed.
Hey there, NT. Thank you for coming into the chat. Hope you are well. And I've got Madhouse here flattering me. Like, I feel really flattered now. So thank you.
They're not just talking about you, is it? Like, we've got some eye candy over here as well. Griffo, pretty boy. Thanks, Madhouse.
Eye candy for sure. Eye candy. The Mick Miller said you're free to support Newcastle in a few years' time. No, thank you. No, thank you. Oink to you too, Gordon. Kingslayer Glazers out emojis. Great to see. And Glory United. Hey there to you too. I hope you are well. And Ravi has said, United, if they want to be a heavy hitter, they need the owners to step it up. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, so let's just say we've always said, can't wait for international break. You know what? We're going to have a break. We're sick of all this United crap when we're losing, and we've got all this going ahead with the Sancho situation, and we're losing games. So we're like, can't wait for it. Oh, look what's come about now. That Sheikh Jassim has withdrawn his bid, isn't that right, Eddy?
Yeah, I mean, I was really disappointed when we saw that the guys that have the real money bags, that's what's the thing at the end of the day, is for a proper takeover to invest in the stadium and the players, everything that's off the table. And now we've got to play the waiting game with Sir Jim. We're gonna see if he's gonna actually be serious about buying this portion of the club and then getting more portions and then eventually taking over. Like that's a question mark. So I'm sure I'm like a lot of fans where it's like the patience is not really there because we've been through like over a decade of pain now. We want we almost want a quick fix, but you don't really get that in life. But with what would have been a full takeover, it would have been a quicker fix than what Sir Jim is proposing. So it's like, how many years is it going to take for him to take over? You know, is it going to be 3 years, 4 years? How you know what I mean? We'll have to play the waiting game. So yeah, I was very disappointed that the Sheikh withdrew. You know, there's actually been some reports that they may come back in later on, but I bet that's just rumors and all that crap, really. But yeah, okay. To finish off, I'll be honest. Yeah, I'm not really optimistic, guys. I don't think this is a potential savior. I hope it is, but then my logical brain is saying like I'm not sure, because like if you're a serious guy that's going to take over, we've seen it with like Newcastle. These other clubs that get taken over, they get taken over 100%. It's not someone coming in for 25%, messing about. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna sit and wait and see what happens. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Griffo, what's your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? It's sort of I don't really call it a takeover as such. It's sort of a TA. The TA is the 25% of the word takeover, and we're getting 25% of an actual takeover. So it's more of a TA than it is the actual takeover. You know, it's hard to judge until we actually know. There's very little. I mean, there are some positives. This is hopefully the first step in what is probably going to be a very, very, very long road ahead, even though we've already been on this road for, since 2005, you'd say. But this is the first real big change up there in a long, long time. And while people will say Ratcliffe's just another sort of Glazer, there is a little bit of change there. But I'm sure we'll get into all the specifics. But right now, the feeling in the fan base is one of sort of mellow, one sort of sadness. So it's time will tell. Time will tell.
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of people wanted Sheikh Jassim. They wanted that full takeover. I know everything does take time, of course, to get to how we were, because we've seen with Manchester City, they took a few years to get to where they are today. So, I know a full takeover probably would have been ideal. In terms of Jim Ratcliffe, I'm not 100% fully sold on him. If you want me to be fairly honest, I do look at what is he putting in £1.52 billion into the club. What he's borrowed that out already. That doesn't really seek out for me greatness when we're already in that much over £1 billion debt. Is that just gonna go towards the debt? Is that gonna go to training? Is that gonna go to Old Trafford? What's that money, what he's putting into the club? I know he's putting 25% in, but where does that really go into? Where does that benefit the actual club itself?
And how much power is he going to get? I mean, we've been seeing on these other channels that are talking about it. Is he going to get this control to influence the football side? Like, hopefully, I mean, 25% seems so small to be having that amount of influence where, you're going to call the shots. It just seems like even if he has ideas, it's going to be the whole, convoluted process of trying to get things approved by the Glazers. And we know the Glazers take ages to approve anything. They overthink stuff. They're thinking about just making money rather than progressing the football side. We've heard that way too many times. And I was just looking into Sir Jim at Nice. Like, we know that he took over them in 2019, right? And he's been there, for 4 years? And I was like, let me look at like what Nice have been doing. Have you guys followed like how Nice have been progressing on the Sir Jim?
Yeah.
Like, it's not great, is it? I mean, if you just look objectively at their league standards, like last season it came 9th. Before that season came 5th. Before that came 9th. Before that came 5th. There's a bit of a pattern there where it's like, I know it's a different situation where it's hard to like measure up French league against English league, right? But it's like, how much competition was in that French league for you to becoming 5th and 9th in like 4 seasons? It's like, it doesn't seem like Sir Jim was doing enough with the club. And just to finish off on that, like, there was a quote from, I think he was the captain, Dante, who plays at Nice. He was saying there was a lack of coherence at the club. And he just said that in May this year, right? Apparently, journalists were saying lately there's been a bit of like better leadership, but that's like when Jim's about to leave, though. So it's like, I don't know. I'm a little bit pessimistic about the footballing side after looking at what he's done with Nice.
To be honest, though, if we're gonna look at clubs, because my friend actually pointed this out to me. There's a football club in Spain, Malaga. They was great in La Liga, and now they've gone down to the third tier, and that was owned by Qatari Royal. So, and that makes, and they look at that and go, well, why is this come the case when Qatari Royal is worth a hell of a lot of money?
As Eddy said towards the end of his point there, you can't compare the two. Nice's in Liga, and you can't compare that to the might of Manchester United. It's still one of, if not the biggest club in the world, let alone England. So you can't really compare the two in that situation. And I mean, as well, you say Nice is sort of inconsistent. I believe they're currently doing really well this season. I think they are in second or something. They're currently above PSG as we speak. But
it's only been like 8 games there, Griffo.
Yeah, exactly. That's only been 8 games.
I've done that in previous seasons where they just fall off, bro.
Exactly. But even if they finished second, that's a great achievement. And obviously that's probably what's first on the mind of everything else. But Man United have had good seasons where we finished second under the Glazers, and we've still not progressed anywhere. Obviously, probably Nice finishing second is a bigger achievement than Man United finishing second. But the point still stands, you can't have it like that. So it's just, you can't compare the situations. That's the point I'm trying to get at. Is Liga is Liga and Premier League's Premier League. It's a completely different beast.
Well, wouldn't you think though, just real quickly, Griffo, don't you think though that league's got less competition? So shouldn't it be?
It's got no competition.
Okay, so shouldn't it be relatively easier to do a takeover there and boost the team,
exactly,
further up? But he's not done that with that Nice team. They're mid-table or fifth possession. I think you can compare to a certain point, right?
Oh yeah, you can compare to a certain point, but I wouldn't say, like, again, it's Nice and then it's Manchester United. There's probably numerous cases of people who've taken over stuff like that. So I mean,
what? Dare I say, we're probably like Nice right now. Where are we? 10th? Yeah, we play the worst football as well. Yeah, so it's like it is comparable. If you look at it,
could we be like Nice then, considering we beat PSG a few years ago and they beat PSG this season 3-2?
Maybe, yeah.
Hey, there's parallels there, I don't know what people in the chat are saying, but like, I saw people saying that okay, Nice is not United. I know that, but it's like the job that he's got to do. It is similar because we're looking really bad. We're looking like a mid-table team. Nice are mid-table, so it's kind of like there's the same kind of progression you've got to do with this team as well. And there's a lot more competition in this league, so he's got a harder job than what he did at Nice.
So, let's be real,
down though, isn't it? Because we came third last year. Everyone was obviously no one was liking the Glazers last year, but we were much more positive, high spirits. We came third, won a trophy. Seems to be real movement under Erik ten Hag, and then again we've taken a step back. It's the second season syndrome that we always talk about with the Glazers. So it's very sort of up and down, and that is why you can't judge anything on one season.
Very true. There was a question here that I did highlight. Question: would Paul Mitchell want to work in more debt when under Qatar he would have had the freedom to build this squad, like at Manchester City? I'm gonna go to on that first, Griffo.
Yeah, no, obviously your job's a lot easier when you have people who actually care about the football club with a lot of money willing to put into the football club. Your job's always going to be easier. And obviously he's not going to want to work with more debt. No one's going to want to work with more debt. Obviously more debt is terrible. We all know that. And that's why one of the big pluses of Qatar over to Jim and everyone else was they were going to come in and clear the debt completely. So yeah, it's a question whether he would. We've seen reports that a lot of staff members are sort of confused a little about the takeover situation, maybe some sort of disappointed about the takeover situation. There's probably been a lot of misleading situations. I mean, at one point, I don't even think the Glazers knew what they were going to do, and then they just made an impulse decision here, there, and then. Some would say they never truly wanted to sell the club. I subscribe to that view. I don't think they truly ever wanted to say goodbye properly. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult for Paul to work with more debt, and it comes back to, say, 5 odd years ago. If you said Ratcliffe was going to come in 25%, take the Glazers 100% down to 75, however much they got, because they've got stakeholders and all of that, we probably would have taken it. We wouldn't have been too happy, but we would have taken it. But because we have now the other hand of Qatar, 100%, basically everything we want, it feels lesser than what we're getting. And I think just it's the famous phrase, isn't it? The hope that kills you. I mean, you say it all the time in football on a pitch perspective, but on this takeover perspective, it is the hope that kills you, because at one point it looked very strongly like Qatar were going to win, and we were going to, compete again with the Man Cities and with the Newcastles when they get them, with all the other teams that are actually ambitious. But unfortunately, it's not come to pass, and we have to deal with what we've been dealt at the moment, which, in a given situation, maybe 5 years ago, we would have accepted a little bit more fondly. But unfortunately, as I said, Qatar got involved, and now we're not really happy.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to touch on with that question as well, Eddy?
I think Griffo pretty much covered a lot of bases there. The only thing I'll say is that Paul Mitchell, being this character that is good technically with doing like the football side, even if even though there's more debt, like being this kind of top professional, he probably see it as a challenge to see if he could come in and work under those adverse conditions. So obviously, as we say, Man United is still massive club, so he'd probably still want to take that kind of challenge. I just want to go back to when we were talking about Nice and Sir Jim being there. Like Kingslayer was saying, I'm sure he's referring to Nice. He was saying their result overall was worse under Sir Jim. Right, many failures, kept changing managers every year. You see, I don't want to be negative, guys, but I just want to look at the facts. Right, there's facts there that's pointing. It's not really pointing to positives. So I'm a little bit worried, to be honest, with Sir Jim coming in.
I do think though a lot of the managers do get a lot of the stick for. I'm not saying all managers have had that. Some of them probably rightly so at the club, but a lot of them have been scapegoated by the higher up at the board and the Glazers, and the lack of mentality from the players as well. So we can't, whatever happens, we can't keep shifting managers on from pillar to post. Like, it's not, we're not Chelsea to the point is we like that short-term success. We need to build some proper structure, and we just don't have that at all. And I think if you're not having that structure at the top, you're not going to have the structure anywhere at the club.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we've got this Frankenstein squad still. I mean, Ten Hag's, he's tried to get in his profile of player, but it's still players you can see that counter-attack. Some are possession, some are, I don't even know what they are. It's just, it's still a mess because the structure is a mess. So our team's a mess. So you're right with what you're saying.
For sure.
It comes down to 3 words that Ralph Rangnick said: open heart surgery. It's what we knew he was right at the time, and it's what in perspective we know now. So this club did need and still does need open heart surgery from top to bottom.
And the thing is all these purchases we've had in terms of players have not come from the Glazers' pockets. They've come from the sales of shirts. Because we've looked at in the past when Popper and Zlatan first joined Manchester United. I remember reading a post where it said Zlatan sold that many shirts, it covered for Paul Popper's wage fee, like the amount we pay for him. That's absolutely crazy when I read that. And stuff like that doesn't overly help either. Because
but you got to think, you got to think in 5-10 years' time, Man United are not going to drop off a cliff massively that no one's going to support them, because Man United have done a very clever thing in signing big name players. And like when we brought Ronaldo back, there's going to be kids growing up saying, "Oh my God, Ronaldo's playing for Man United. I'm going to support Man United." That's just how it is. And so they'll grow up and be Man United fans. So Man United won't necessarily die off the cliff on that aspect, but there'll be a lot more Man City fans going up. They'll probably in 15 years' time, if Newcastle continue their ascent, there'll be more Newcastle fans worldwide. And there's going to be, and Arsenal been doing well recently, and it's just the way it is. You do well, you gain more fans over time. There'll be more Liverpool fans. I know there's already a lot of them, but there'll be more. So, yeah, those shirt sales numbers are not going to fall off a cliff, but they are probably going to ever so slightly decrease. And that sort of insurance and backbone that they were sort of relying on, as you said, Maisy, they won't have. So it is worrying. And that's why we needed this sort of, there we go, quick change, bring in, well, not quick change, but, snap change, 100% ownership, start afresh, move forward, build again. But this is not that. It's sort of a gradual continuation of what we've seen.
You know what, Griffo? I just wonder how many fans are going to be patient, man, to see what happens. Because like you're saying, these other teams are competing now. Yeah. I just remember that comment near the start of the stream where there's a Newcastle fan saying, "Yeah, you can come and support Newcastle." Come on, man. Come on. I want to say, yeah, we're still big Man United, but look at what the team is doing this season. Man City just won a treble, so can you imagine how many glory supporters they've taken from like the Man United fan base? They've probably taken quite a good few, several.
Yeah,
more
to be
several,
honest, I've known glory hunters since City first won that title. Do you know, against us with that Aguero goal? Like, I remembered so many people when I was like at high school at the time. People were saying, "Oh, I've changed from Man United to Man City now because Man City won the trophy, and I went and watched them at town."
Disgraceful, man.
It happens. It happens, unfortunately, with kids. But
yeah, kids are fickle. That's gonna happen. I've heard stories. I've heard stories of like fathers that support Man United. They're trying to get their sons to follow, and the sons are rejecting, saying, "No, I want to support who's winning. I want to support Man City." There's fathers struggling with their sons to bond. Now, this is what Man United's doing. We got to step up. This is madness, guys. Yeah, and I don't know how patient I can be myself as well. Yeah, because I felt depressed with what's going on. Like I keep saying, the football we're playing this season, I don't want to watch it. To be honest, yeah, the result counts, but we're not even getting results now. So, I mean, obviously we got the last one, but that was squeaky bum time, wasn't it? McTominay with a squeaky bum time winner. Yeah. We can't be doing that every week.
I just want to say thank you to Tom for the £2 super chat. He mentioned about a player that everyone's raving about from Nice, equals Sir Jim Ratcliffe paying transfer fees to himself. I don't know much about this player, but I've heard too many raves about him. I don't know if he's good or anything. All I'm saying is, I don't want this guy. I want Diamande from Sporting, and I will literally die on a hill. I will say it to my very last breath if I have to, but he's going to City, Arsenal, or he's going to Chelsea now, which is upsetting.
Yeah, I don't know about those players, but I mean, we know we need players, that have obviously the ability to play that possession, dynamic football, and that have some individual brilliance where they can carry the ball. I don't see anyone in that team that can carry the ball enough, that can be dribbling, that can be doing there's no 1-2 chemistry. It's just really weird that we have this manager that's from Dutch Total Football, and we've got players where we're just doubting them. We're just doubting so many players like this season. It's mad.
It's a great point. You look at City, Liverpool, probably even Arsenal now to an extent. You look over their 11, their starting 11, and their bench and their squad. You're getting consistent performances out of them. There's not a single consistent performer in Manchester United at the moment in terms of consistently good. I'm saying, obviously, Maguire. People would argue Maguire's consistently woeful, but that's for a different time. But you know, Rashford was great last season, awful this season. Bruno has a good game here, terrible game here. Even Casemiro now is struggling. You know, Martinez wasn't the person he was last season. Onana's, you know, making mistake after mistake and then occasionally having a good saves. There's no consistency with the players, and you know that falls on the players as much as it falls on the manager in getting this consistency. And I mean, it just sums up Man United over the last, you know, 10 years ever since Fergie left, and even to the probably even the latter stages of Fergie's reign. It's inconsistency. It's just this season we're amazing. This season we're terrible. You know, load of people call Rashford a purple patch player, and you know it's hard to disagree because one season, like last season, he could be, I don't know, top 10 wingers in the world. And maybe that's a bit of a far statement there, but maybe, you know, in last season he was. This season you wouldn't even put him in the top 50. So it is about consistency, and that is what we've lacked on the pitch and everywhere else. The only thing consistent about Man United at the moment is just the horror show going on upstairs and water coming in on fans' heads in the stadium.
That's the problem, though, is that we've just consistently relied on individual brilliance. There's been Rashford, there was Martial post-lockdown, there was Bruno Fernandes for his first year or two when he come to the club, there was Casemiro last season. It's just the consistent, we need to find these players who are performing at the moment and give them the ball and just hope for the best. And that's how it's always seemed to be. And it's just, I don't see the tactics at all whatsoever.
Yeah. You know what? Just on that point, real quickly, Maisy, it just seems like Ten Hag's been put under pressure to get the results already, right? Because first season we did see him try and put some of his tactics, like at home especially, where we did press a bit higher, right? We didn't seem to get enough service to the forward though, but we were pressing high. There was a bit of counter press, but it seemed like, you know, Ten Hag was going for every competition when really, like logically, you should have been just trying to play some good football in the league, just focus on like having enough time to go into training where you're not just having to go into game after game and like, you know, implement his tactics. But he didn't have enough time to do that last season because he's trying to win every game. He said that, didn't he? We want to win every game. And it's like, if you got like a patchwork team, you're going to pretty much get patchwork performances when you're not trying to drill your tactics on the training ground. Because the more matches you have, you got less time on the training ground. So it just seems like that's come back to haunt him. Because for me, and this relates to Ravi's question, he's saying that are the players motivated to play for the club? I think they've suffered a bit of a burnout because a lot of the first team players last season, they were playing almost every game. I think we saw a lack of rotation, right? We didn't see enough of the youth. Yeah, we didn't see enough of the youth. You know, so for me, I don't think it's motivation. I think some of them are burnt out. You know, how was Casemiro falling off a cliff now? He seems like a liability. He was one of our best players last season. I mean, some people may put that down to age, but come on, are you going to age him like one season to be like this bad?
Look at Thiago Silva, though. He was absolutely, he was proper balling at the age he is at in the Premier League. I don't think it is necessarily down to age. It's about down to the building. It's down to the setup. It's down to the players around you. Like, you look at, for instance, Luka Modric. He was looking absolutely fire last season at the age he is now. That's how I believe it is anyway. And you look at the players that are around, there's no balance in there whatsoever. There's no midfield balance. I do, if you want to win every game, fine, perfect, like, so do we. But it's just a matter of, you need to get that rotation in. Like, before a couple of games ago, Harry Maguire, he didn't even have a game's worth of minutes in him.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, you need to have at least a tiny bit of rotation, change a player or two, especially when you're in the Champions League. You can't play the exact same Champions League squad the same as in the Premier League. You can't use similar plays in the Carabao Cup where you're playing Amrabat as a left back for Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup, and then you do the exact same then in the Premier League.
That made me sick, by the way. I actually stopped watching the Crystal Palace game. Because how can you have an engineer we saw what he did for Morocco World Cup? You know, You don't just get lucky and have a great World Cup there. That's high pressure, biggest competition. If you play well in the World Cup, you're likely to be a great player. So for him to be used as a periphery player at left back, that was enraging. That's why, Ten Hag has to be questioned a little bit for that kind of stuff. It really does. Coming back to like the main point, it's like, yeah, there should have been proper rotation, really. It just comes back to my thoughts of, was there too much pressure put on Ten Hag to succeed in that first season and adapt to the counter-attackers that were there? Because we saw like an amalgamation of counter-attack and possession football, right? Possession at home and then away from home, it was counter, and we had like one of the worst records as well. I think that's one of the big things that you can see where it's like, okay, Ten Hag was maybe under pressure where he was trying to adapt too much to what the team was doing under Ole, under Jose, and he's not been given enough leeway to come out of those competitions. Because if you look at the way we went far in the Europa League, and we had players like Varane and Martinez get injured. I heard that Martinez was actually rushed back too early from an injury this season, right? It's like it's an overdraft from last season where people are getting played too much, and I think it must be too much pressure on Ten Hag to win already, and it's that's why it's gone bad this season, I think.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with you too. Go on. What was you going to say, Griffo? Sorry.
Firstly, I disagree with Eddie's point of you can not have a fluke World Cup, because Harry Maguire was in the 2018 World Cup team of the tournament, and we know what happened afterwards. So
he plays all right for England, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he's a completely different player when he plays for England. Not sure. I still believe that Maguire would do a job at West Ham or something, but you know, that's for a different time. But back on last season in the rotation, yes, that was a big part of Erik ten Hag, but you also have to put yourself in his shoes and pitch yourself on the touchline, look behind you and go, what is there on the bench? Like, okay, now we have a bit more of a squad, not at the moment because everyone's injured, but when everyone's fit, we've got resemblance of a squad. Last season, we didn't have that. We didn't even have a functioning striker. Martial was basically permanently injured, where Korst played like he was permanently injured. So yeah, he didn't have much to rotate from last season. Yeah, it's easy to say, and Man United's history is built on, giving youth a chance, but it's easier said than done in certain situations. You're not just going to throw youth names in. I think the one big case was when we played Reading in that FA Cup, and everyone thought he'd rotate, and he never did. And you just think it's Reading. They're in League One now. It's the young players needed a run out. That's probably the only time. Other than that,
Griffo, is that not where Ericsson got injured as well by, was it Carroll?
Andy Carroll, yeah.
He should have had a red card.
Ericsson wasn't the same after that as well, was he? Like he's not returned to form at all. So that's a good point there.
That should have been a red. Did he get a red card in the end? I can't remember.
He got a red card in the end for 2 yellows, but he should have had like yellows way before when he did get the yellows. Like he was out to purposely injure one of our players. He was purposely out to do that, and he succeeded.
I think we should replay that FA Cup game against Reading.
No, we've already won it. We've won it now.
You're sounding like
Carabao Cup.
Replay the final at least.
I can't be doing with another Carabao Cup at the moment. I wanted to pinpoint this note from Anfield. Uncle Rods is a really lovely guy. Really lovely.
Big up, Rods.
He said, "This is what great clubs go through. Liverpool has been through it. So will Man United get great again. You'd like to hope so, but we'll just have to see." But thank you very much for coming into the chat.
Can I just bring up on can I just read one comment here, because that links to Uncle Rod's. Tony One Kenobi at 10:34 saying Ten Hag has spent more than Klopp in Ten Hag has spent more than what Klopp spent in 8 years. Recruitment is shit, right? I don't know. I mean, we'll have to check the proper stats on that. I'm not sure about that. I mean, 8 years, that's long. But the thing is, I wanted to highlight that, because Klopp, he didn't have success with Liverpool for, what was it? I think in the 4th season, is when he actually won something, right? He came eighth, not eighth, no. He finished out of the Champions League first 2 seasons, I think it was. Lost the Europa final, but it was really like he wasn't trying to win every competition though. That's the thing. He was getting the Gegenpress sorted, and then in the 4th year, that's when I forgot what they won, but it was a major trophy in the 4th year. And it's like at Man United, it seems like the standard is to not wait. We can't wait to challenge. It's like, oh, okay, straight away, compete on all fronts. So yeah, we could have learned. I mean, I obviously I hate Liverpool, but the thing is, you can learn from rivals though. To the way they've given Klopp time, and then fourth seat. I mean, could you do that at Man United?
I got the information, and it's based on net spend. So we know Liverpool has sold a lot more players in the Klopp's tenure than what Manchester United have, of course, because they've sold Sadio Mane and they sold some other great players too. So it says, according to transfer market data, Liverpool's net spend under Klopp currently stands at 359 million, which that's in dollars, what equals to 282 million pounds. The same site has Ten Hag at Manchester United at $447 million, which equals to $350 million in pounds after it's so expensive. After the expensive move to Holland.
Wow, it's like nearly 100 million difference there, isn't it? That's mad. I mean, we've got to look at the fact that there's certain players that didn't even want to leave Man United. That's a big, big caveat to that, where people like Maguire digging their feet in. So it's like the net spend thing was hard for Ten Hag to achieve when players are being stubborn.
Look, and when you're selling youth players for about less than $1 million, and you've got like the likes of like James Trafford being sold for 20 million.
No, I can't crazy. Do that. No, but look, the Glazers have many problems at this football club. What they spend. Yes, it's not their money, it's money that's generated from the club, but what they spend is not one of those problems. There are facts there that and stats that say that Man United have spent the most, whether it's net spend or whether it's since Ten Hag came in or whatever. The stats and facts are there. We spent the most. Up until last season or the season before. Hi, Jarvis.
Hey.
Oh, Jarvis.
Big up.
Yeah, up until last season, there was money. Okay. This season, perhaps that's why we had to sort of loan in Amrabat towards the end rather than buy him permanently. But there's always been money there, and it's always been brought. That's not the problem. The problem is how you spend that money. If you got a list up of, say, I don't know, every big team, whether it's City, Chelsea, or perhaps not Chelsea, but City, United, Liverpool, Arsenal, and say, this is their last £500 million spent. You can see that City have brought well, Liverpool have brought well, Arsenal have brought well, United haven't brought well. And that is not, it is on the Glazers for hiring people who don't know what to do with their job. And maybe Ratcliffe comes in and sorts that, who knows. But yeah, in terms of the money, that's never been a problem because Man United have always, apart from this season, had the money to spend. It's just what we do with it has not been as well enough as the Cities, the Liverpools, the Arsenals. That's why we're so far behind.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to before I say hello to Jarvis, I just wanted to pinpoint this one from Trafford just won a treble. Trafford didn't win a treble. He wasn't at Manchester City when they won the treble. He was at Bolton Wanderers where he won the Papa John's trophy. But he didn't win the treble. But thank you for coming in. And lovely Jarvis. Hey there, Jarvis.
Hey, Maisy. Hey, Griffo, Eddy, how are you doing? I missed the debate. So what did I miss? Fill me in.
Well, we spoke a little bit about Sheikh Jassim withdrawing. Then we started talking a bit about Manchester United in the mud. And then we're talking about the players now.
Okay. Well, I can start with the first one just to leave a short comment on all the subjects. When it comes to Sheikh Yassim withdrawing, it's a little bit up in the air. I've seen different sources. When you see Reuters, they don't say he's withdrawing. They're saying that he won't up his bid. So you have different sources. I leave a little bit, like 5%, that maybe they can come in. I'm not giving up because I don't want Jim Ratcliffe to come in and support and give the Glazers the lifeline they have been looking for, so they can stay on for the next 10, 15, 20, 50 years. Who knows? Because that could be the reality. We don't know yet. And I don't accept that they will just give Sir Jim Ratcliffe a gentleman's agreement and say, hey, buy 25% and you can buy us out in 5 years' time. It's not how business works. It's a reason why I can ask you this question, because I have been asking myself this question, because the Glazers, they wanted a minority investment from a venture capitalist. They went to Saudi. They attended a lot of meetings. They mingled. They connected with all the Saudis. They wanted a minority investment into the club. And why? And think really hard about that. Because suddenly the club was up for sale. But they never really wanted to sell the club. They just wanted a minority investment, a lifeline, because they were losing money after the corona. They were empty stadiums, and they haven't run the club well. And we have been losing money every year. It's minus 115 millions last year or something like that. And they don't make money. And it started to affect, for example, the transfer budget, because we are under FFP scrutiny, because we can't use the money we make because we don't have enough income. And that's a problem. And they needed this lifeline. Now we have a minor investor. And I don't believe for 1 second that the Glazers will sell to Jim Ratcliffe in a couple of years. No way. It's not happening. But they will feed us lies. They will feed us the lies all the time. Sir Jim is coming in. He's bringing Paul Mitchell. Why would the Glazers bring in a competent sports?
Griffo, you're depressing me, bro.
Why would they bring him in? You saw what they did to Ralph Ragnick. It took them 6 months to ship him out because he had ambitions. Do you really think they will accept Paul Mitchell? Paul Mitchell will come in and start to demanding things. I want this player. I want that player. I want this structure. I want to sell that player. No way, because it will cost money. And what do the Glazers don't have? They don't have money. They don't want to invest anything. So why do they want Paul Mitchell?
Well, can't Sir Jim bring something?
Yeah, but that's they're just feeding us lies. It's lies. If Ineos comes in, they want to bring in that same guy who was running the Ineos sporting project. His name is Dave Brailsford. And he has connections with all those Richard Freeman doping cycling team doctors and everything. They want to improve 1% all the time. Yeah, and you know how they do it. I don't want any of the Ineos to do with my club.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot of love for your shirt, Jarvis. Can you tell me what your shirt says?
Well, it's just my cock.
I didn't even realize it said that.
Yeah, your cock is what?
Magical. My cock is magical. You know what a cock?
That's why people wanted to stand up, and I got that down.
You know what, guys? We needed that after Jarvis was dropping some of this, this doomsday stuff, man. Like, isn't that? Do you not see like any positives really, like going forward with this?
No, to be honest, this was a shock. I was really deflated the other day. On Saturday, I went to the basement in my heart to really find energy to go on. And me and Mick, we did a couple of shows. We have been talking about this. We have been analyzing it. We're trying to find facts, trying to find out what's going on. And there's a lot of things going on, but in the end of the day, you have Neil Ashton. He will spin out the PR for the Glazers. They will try to make it edible for the fans that Ratcliffe is actually a good guy. He's actually a good guy. He's buying 25%. He will make this club great again with no money, and we don't want to spend any money. What happened to the training ground, Old Trafford, and everything? It won't happen. I'm very frustrated at the moment. I really hope, but there's a slim chance in hell that the Qataris will come in again and raise their bid and swoop the table with Man United. But as long as there's hope, I will still believe. And you can call me deluded, but I don't want to see my club go down like this.
I think it harks back to the point as well. And I've said this numerous times. I said it a lot during the Super League as well. The Glazers insult our intelligence. They don't. They think we're stupid. They think they can just we can just spin these puppets, these muppets, and they'll buy anything. To the Glazers, Maisy's a pound sign, Eddy's a pound sign, I'm a pound sign, Jarvis is a pound sign, Rajat V, Danny B. Everyone in the chat are just pound signs. We're not fans for them, and that's why that they can get away with all of this. That's why they tried it with the Super League until there was this massive, great shitstorm basically that they couldn't ignore. And every single time they get whatever the situation, and there's been a lot of situations in the last couple of years at United, they spin because they think they can get away with it. And maybe now it's our responsibility to go keep these protests up, empty a few stadiums. It's going to be very difficult, but maybe we do have to try these stuff now and get more games cancelled. No one wants a game cancelled, but we're at that stage now. So yeah, we just need to make as much noise as possible and say, we're not pound signs at the end of the day. We're fans of this football club. We'll be fans of this football club way after you're gone, hopefully soon. And we've just got to keep the noise up. And it's going to be tiring. It's going to be difficult, but we've got to have to.
I hear what you're saying, Griffo. But this is the thing: who's going to be on the front line risking getting banned, right? Because if you're going on the pitch, right, what Ajax fans did with some ownership they wanted to get rid of, they were cancelling games, stuff like that. It's like there's a possibility certain fans might get banned for life, and then nothing changes. It's like, this is the thing with trying to change anything. There's got to be sacrifice. Are fans going to be really up for that? I mean, what is it? Fans got the Liverpool game cancelled. Was it a few seasons ago?
Yeah,
but it was just the one game. It's like, are people willing to keep that going? Keep the carnage going.
That was after the Super League, wasn't it? That was a month after the Super League. I think it was sort of May 2021, and that was the drive behind that sort of thing. And we've not really got a game cancelled since, just because the Glazers are involved. This is probably as big a news as the Super League, especially on a Man United perspective. So maybe we can use this force to sort of drive, more of that. Obviously, we're not advocating for, violent scenes, and of course we're not. But, we have to find a way, and we've tried many, many, many different ways, and basically every way under the sun, but we've got to try and find a way of making our voices heard and say, this isn't good enough. We're not going to get spun anymore. We're not going to be treated like children. We're not going to be treated like people you can just walk over and spin until your heart's content.
Like Robin here has said, stop the games. That's all you got to do all week. The thing is this is the thing. If we was to stop the games and then the other team got the 3 points, I would much rather them got the 3 points for something that we've stuck up for, that we're winning these Glazers, that we've done this, rather than seeing crap performances week in, week out. I'd rather lose points over something that's going to be a lot more beneficial for me in terms of the club itself. But I just think with some of the fans, I'm not going to say it's all of the fans, I don't think they have that mentality to say, like you see where they say, we'll get rid of your season ticket. And they go, no, because if I get rid of my season ticket, a tourist will get it. I don't think that's the right attitude to really have. If you really want...
Well, that's what will happen, though. That's the thing. You can understand how people will be anxious over, okay, I've just given up something, and then there's no point because someone's just replaced me. That's a big thing for someone that's, is subscribed to getting the season ticket.
What about Milan though? The Milan situation where they literally emptied the entire stadium, like they say, like, well, we don't want our tickets to go to waste. Why not scan in? A couple of minutes later, get out of there. When a couple of minutes after kickoff, empty the stadium. It's going to look back to the Sky, BT, whoever they're showing it on. It's not going to be effective on that 3:00 football. They've wasted a lot of money on stewards. Well, shouldn't have been really wasted on.
100%, Maisy, and you have a good point. But the thing is, the problem with Man United that we have a global fan base. I see it from the perspective of Norway. In the biggest supporter clubs in Norway, Man United, the supporter club Scandinavia and Norway, both of them, the leaders are celebrating. On Facebook, they posted I would call it tweet, but what do you call it on Facebook? I don't know, messages. And saying I will pop the champagne. We didn't get sold to a dictator thing like Qatari, or they don't like it. We don't want to be state owned. They pop the champagne. Ratcliffe is in 25%. Hooray! And that's the statement, because everybody got to know, official people, especially when it comes to supporter clubs, are organizing their trips to Manchester United. They have people in the organization to give them tickets. They know everything. So they are basically in the pockets of the club, and they will front it. And a lot of the global fan base, they don't know what we know. We follow United very closely from an English perspective, but it's a whole different game, even in Norway, and that's close to England. And when you have fan bases in huge fan bases in the Far East, Malaysia and Australia and India and all of those countries. I don't want to say that they don't care, but they don't know what's going on, because the PR that comes out from the club, they shut it down. You see it when you see the games on TV. They take away the sounds. They don't allow banners, green and gold banners. They don't film them. They will do whatever to keep it down. Don't tell anyone that the Glazers are the bad guys. That's the fact. And we got to know, and we got to be aware. So it's very important that we, the fan channels, all of the people who know Man United, stick together and keep pushing this narrative that the Glazers are the bad guy, because it really is. They are destroying our club.
Yeah, no, the size of Man United's fan base is almost like a poison chalice, and the fact that because we've got such a large fan base, it's going to be very hard to stay united on all of this. And as you were saying, there's kids that have no idea even who the Glazers are. They just support Man United. There's probably there's so many, sort of elderly fans, 60, 70, who just want to go and watch football at the weekend. Don't care what's happening.
Yeah.
Probably don't. I mean, they'll be sad when they lose, but it won't affect their mood. But they'll go again next week just because that's the way they're inclined. And I mean, Man United, the fan base splits on so many topics, and there's been a lot of topics to be split about recently. It's just so hard to get everyone, and most people, despite hate the Glazers for what they've done to the football club. Yeah. But uniting that is gonna be really, really, really difficult. Because, like I say, you've got people there who, as Jarvis said, aren't in tune with the Glazer situation and not in tune with anything that's going on out of the pitch. They're just focused on the 11 players kicking the ball around on a Saturday afternoon. They're not focused on the men in America who have never been to, or haven't been to Old Trafford in a while, only go to the cup games or cup final games, and wear suits and don't get involved and don't put their face to it. So it is going to be incredibly hard to sort of unite that fan base. But what other choice do we have than to try?
I'm going to go into a couple of the comments in the chat. Now Kane said, it's too good to go to a football match now. We live in a world, it's far too expensive, so it's hard to get a season ticket in England. Your local club, like my local club is FC United, who was built based on being wanting the Glazers out the club. They're support. I would support your locals if you could. That could be a potential option to do that, because a lot of the ones who are in non-leagues, they tend to do this thing where they say, put as much as you can in towards a season ticket, and then we'll put the rest too. A lot of clubs do that, and I think that's a very good way for fans who are struggling to go to games. Robin has said Enos's stock goes up. Stay Gold said Enos's stock blowing up. Montreal said, not surprising when the Glazers are a bunch of pragmatic beat. A pint of beer. We all need that right now. Ratcliffe is an asset stripper. Just to say that again. Alex said, we don't need owners. I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to say to you, I'm going to ask the chat this question. What do you think this club would be if it was fan owned?
It would be a mess, guys. I mean,
probably a mess.
Yeah. I mean, Griffo's just talked about how the fan base is split. Can you imagine us trying to vote on players? Like, people like different styles of players. You know, it's just nah. I couldn't even see that. That'd just be like anarchy. Nah. We need a proper leader, someone that knows, like, you know, football properly, and then it's like, because you know how they say too many cooks spoil the broth. You know, that's what it would be. We would have a really mad broth, and it just, I can't even imagine it, guys.
You'd have one side who goes, sign Mbappe at this moment, right now. Sign him right this minute. Put as much as you can in towards Mbappe.
400 million. Let's go. Spend the whole transfer kitty on him. Not even worrying about midfield that we need, you know, centre mids and stuff like that.
What do you think, Jarvis? Fan-owned club for Man United, how could that work?
It sounds tempting, you know. After we you know what we have been going through the last 18 years. It's pure incompetence. The Glazers are like, okay, they are renowned, I would say, financial acrobats, and they know how to wiggle around in the financial world, but they know nothing about football. Avram Glazer, he doesn't know the offside rule. They have never seen a game. When they watch Man United, they watch it on the New York Stock Exchange. They watch how it goes up and down. That's the only thing they know about Man United, you know. And having owners like that, it's terrible, because you have seen what they have done to our club. Our club, the ideology of the club is now money. We have a lot of young players, 18, 19 years old. They think they have made it. They lose their motivation to play football, and their performance drop. And we have a lot of experienced players who come here in their 30s to cash in the last paycheck. They don't have any feelings for the club. It's about money. Everything is about money. And that's the only thing that the Glazers has installed. If we were fan-owned, it would have been about passion. Okay, we would have wanted Mbappe. That would be great. But at least the fan base cared about the club. But they don't now at the moment. So I would love a fan-based solution, a 50-51 solution. That would be perfect in my mind.
It would be. I wouldn't necessarily. I don't know too much about in terms of fan ownership. I know they've got them in certain countries, but I mean, for example, now seeing how split the fan base is on Erik ten Hag, you know, that this fan base, you know, turns on managers like at the drop of a hat. You know, he's had a poor start to the season. All of a sudden, the remarkable third place and the trophy. Yes, it was a Carabao Cup, but it's still a bit of silverware that we just desperately needed to end the rot. All of that has been eradicated just because of 8 games, and the 8 games have been relatively poor. We've probably deserved to lose probably 7 out of those 8 games, but the fan base are very, very divided, and it would have to be very, 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 very specific structure for anything like that to work. And it's not just at Man United. I think it's at probably any sort of top club in England, because you just get such a divided fan base just in any top, but especially at United.
Yeah, I agree. Eddy sadly now has to leave. Thank you very much, Eddy, for coming on.
You're welcome.
Ravi said he will put you in charge of Man United. So, Eddy in charge of Man United, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, put me in charge. I'll take you guys as my board members. Yeah, Jarvis. Yeah, Griffo, Maisy. Well, we can do something. But yeah, it's been a great debate. I just want to say thanks to everyone in the chat as well. Obviously, it's hard to get to all your comments. You know, Maisy's doing the best. Great host. And yeah, I'll see you guys again, possibly for another debate. Hopefully, we get some real ironclad news on what Sir Jim's going to be doing. Yeah. Hopefully, he gets to take charge of this football side, because we need the freshness with that. But anyway, yeah, hit the like and subscribe for the Flying Pig channel, of course. And if you want to see some animation soon based on football, subscribe to Eddy's Football Waffle on YouTube. But yeah, thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you all soon.
Take care, Eddy. Thank you.
Cheers, Eddy.
Yeah.
A lot of people had their thoughts on fan-owned clubs, so let's see what people have said. Chris said Jim Ratcliffe isn't even willing to help his F1 team. I have no clue about F1, to be honest, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
There's links with Mercedes, isn't it? And I don't know too much about that, but he's got links in Mercedes. And as Jarvis touched on, he's got links in cycling as well. He's got links everywhere.
Oh, and he's got bloody no money if he's invested in everywhere.
Precisely. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's very much reported as well.
Stay Gold said, ask the Bundesliga. I don't personally watch the Bundesliga, so I don't really know how well fan-owned clubs really work, because they own 51%. I don't know if any of you two watch more Bundesliga than me.
Not really.
I gotta be honest. Yeah, I've been to Germany. I have never been to the games, but I have seen the fan base, and they're very passionate. They have big fan bases on every game, and you have the biggest club as Dortmund and Bayern, and they are massive when it comes to fans. But even the smaller clubs are the same, like Schalke 04, like they are incredible, and they have a lot of good fan bases, and it's because they're fan based. They try to keep the ticket prices down. They now in Premier League, it's been like a rich man sports, and basically I don't think the Glazers even want the local fans to come to the games, because they don't leave any money in the superstore. They want to fly in people who will go to the tours and spend money and all of that, and they don't care about the atmosphere. They can just turn on the speakers and play some cheering music because that's what they want. They want money, and this is what our club has become, and they don't have that in Germany. They still have the old fan base, and that's what I want back in Man United. When you go to games, you talked about Italy, for example, AC Milan. You can't even come to Carrington. It's big fences. You can't even see. But if you go to other clubs in Europe, the supporters are standing on the training ground and shouting to the players if they are losing. They feel the supporters, because it's local. It's in their city, and they are supporting their club. So that's what we are missing in the Premier League. But as I said, we are a global fan base, and this is just what we have become, and we have to do the best to make it happen. But the good thing is we have a huge revenue. We are the second largest club in the world. Only Real Madrid makes more money and have a bigger fan base. So I think we can spin on this and come back, even if we don't have any Qatari money or Ineos money or whatever, but we just need to remove the debt and get in competent owners.
Yeah, I completely agree. Hey there, Stephanie. Thanks for coming into the chat. Good to see you. 140 likes. Thank you all for hitting that like button. Hey there, Stefan. Thank you for coming into the chat. Hope you are well. Niall said, I don't watch German league, so I do know the Euros is getting held there in the summer. I've always said we struggle to make decisions with 6 owners. Imagine billions of people Sod that. That's for sure. Stefan said,
I just want to leave a sorry, Mace. I just want to leave a quick comment to the last one when it comes to dividends, because it will be naive to believe that Ineos as a company would say no to dividends. They would take out money as the same way as the Glazers. So now we had 6 people milking the cow, and now we have 7 with Sir Jim and Ineos. So it's just a point that everybody should think of.
Hey there, Neil. Thanks for coming into the chat. Hope you're well. Alex said if Qatar bought Milan, it would set the Euros on fire. But didn't Milan recently get bought?
I think they have new owners now, and it's a mess again, and people are protesting. So I'm not sure what's going on in Milan.
Oh, well, maybe we might see some empty stadiums again. Who knows? Robin Hood has said, Rashford, great rotation player. Not a bad player, but not a key player as a starter. Can be a good cog in the machine, but he's gone too far in the wages he's on. Craig said, Audi own 10% of Bayern. Tommy has said, this article looks at the current governance structures of English football clubs and asks whether greater levels of fan ownership could improve their stability and performance. We'll have to look at this article. Ravi said, question for all three. How do United take control in games? I'm not going to answer this one first. I'm going to let you two answer it. I'm going to start with Griffo. I'm going to put you on the spot first.
I mean, games are won and lost in the midfield. So that's the sort of connection between the defense and attack. If we had the answer, we wouldn't be in this situation, because if I've got the answer, Ten Hag would have the answer. But no, it is really concerning. I think the midfield, you need to find the balance, and I think just sort of close your eyes and pray at night that Casemiro still has his Casemiro ability. Put him in there with Amrabat, give Amrabat time to settle in, and then just have a creative influence like Bruno, and then have Mount come in and give Bruno rests out every now and then. Have Mount go off the right. I mean, I'm not totally opposed to that, because obviously we've got the situations regarding Anthony not being good enough, and Sancho, the whole Sancho situation that has been brushed under the carpet all because of what's been happening over the last few days. So yeah, we just need it. It is midfield is where you control the game, and we just don't have that at the moment. It's been completely unbalanced for large parts of. I think you look back at every single game we've played this season in the Premier League. Our midfields have been bossed. Like, on the large part, I think of probably the Forest game, and even so, then it was probably only the second half we took control of that game, and there was a magical comeback. Brentford was poor until the last 10 minutes. We haven't deserved to win, I'd argue, any Premier League game this season. Yeah,
one game out of 11. That was Crystal Palace in the League Cup. Only game we have played well.
Or take me back. Midfield. It is the overriding point in that is get bodies in that midfield, get players who can hold the ball, and just start playing as a team again. There's a lot of individuals in that team. Start playing as a unit, because that's how you're going to succeed, and that is how you'll get control in games.
What about you, Jarvis? Anything more you want to touch on with what
Griffo? I think Griffo is on the point. We're talking about a little bit of playing as a unit, and when I can go a little bit into the details, but for me it's about player types and like drilling them in to understand what Ten Hag is really want to do. Because when we have players like Bruno, he always looks for the Hollywood pass. He tries to attack fast, and we have players like Rashford. He wants to come inside and finish. He don't want to go to the byline and feed Højlund in a way. So I understand that they don't understand how to move when we have relationships. You see, as soon as Garnacho come on, people understand when he have the ball, they move into the box, because they know he will go to the byline and try to cross the ball inside. But when Rashford gets the ball, they stand a little bit and they watch him. They try to figure out, what is Rashford doing? Is he cutting inside or is he trying to dribble? There's not any automatics in their movements, and that's what needs to happen. We need to drill, and we need to build relations. And Guardiola was talking about that he see that Ten Hag plays a good type of football, but it's about the rhythm and the tempo, because the rhythm and tempo is wrong when we attack. And that's a big problem. But I believe in Ten Hag. I think he will figure this out. And when players come back in form, we will see a different Man United.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think as well, you look at that defense of last season, that was what got us largely. That and Rashford's just goals got us the Carabao Cup and got us top 4. I don't think anyone can really argue with that. You look at the defense now. It's the same players. It's Dalot at right back or Wan-Bissaka. It's Shaw when he's fit at left back, and then obviously we've had an abundance of injuries at the back there. But it's Varane and Martinez. And okay, we've changed the goalkeeper, and I know a lot of people are hounding Onana, but I think
too soon.
Yeah, it is too soon, because you look at Man City. If you look at Ederson's shot stopping, it's okay. It's not great. If you were judging Ederson on just shot stopping, he wouldn't be a good goalkeeper. But he's a really, really good goalkeeper, because the way he plays is the way Man City play. We've got a goalkeeper that's very, very similar to Ederson, but we don't have a team that helps him out in front of him. The 10 players in front of him that doesn't really understand. So there's a disconnect there between the 10 and the one in the net. So I think, yeah, he'll grow into that. If we can get the team rolling, he can really grow into that. And yeah, okay, every goalkeeper will have to save shots eventually. You know, that's just the nature of the position. And Onana has had some fantastic saves this season. He's also had some howlers where they've gone through holes in his gloves. But once we get playing the way we want to play,
slappy hand.
And yeah, exactly, yeah, Poppadom hands. But yeah, I think once we get playing the way Ten Hag wants to play, then we won't see those weaknesses exposed. And that's all about. Onana will always probably have a weakness saving shots, but we're currently exposing it with the way that we're playing.
I'm gonna hold my hands up. I've been extremely critical of Onana. I think what annoyed me more, not necessarily the player itself. I was slightly annoyed in terms of the fact of he can't say for Buddy Toffer. That does annoy me. But what annoyed me more is when we've had people on social media saying, how many assists will Andre Onana get this season? And then I'm getting criticised on social media by saying, well, I don't give a crap. The clean sheets matter a lot more to me. And yeah. I think that is the thing. What I think was more the problem. I think I completely agree with you, Griffo, in the respect of if Onana was in that Manchester City team, he would be looked at as a near enough world-class goalkeeper. It's just the way that we're set up. We're not set up for the way Andre Onana plays. We're counter-attacking football. He's bound to make a lot of saves. But then I do look at that and think, is that down to poor recruitment in a way, to not look at the profile of the player, to say, right, you look at his shot conversion rate, you look at this, he's not a shot stopper. He's someone who's great with the distribution. And I think is that more down to the fact that we didn't really read that profile, and we could have looked at a goalkeeper like Jan Sommer, for instance. I think he could have been a lot better recruitment based off the profile of the player itself.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult, because I've seen a lot of people since Onana has come in saying we should have kept De Gea. But you're forgetting that De Gea's contract came to an end, and the way it came to an end as well. We won't go into that, but it was a natural ending. You know, he wasn't going to accept another 1 year. If he was going to stay, he was going to accept a 3 and a 4, and probably the same money, maybe slightly more. So we had to move on that, and that's just the way it was. De Gea made a lot of mistakes, of course he did, but defensively as a unit, we were better with De Gea in net. Whether that is based on just De Gea or whether that's based on Onana, that's for you to decide. But we had to make the decision because the contract ran out. If De Gea's contract had run out next summer, for example, then maybe we wouldn't, look at replacing De Gea. We deal with him for another season. And it pains me to say deal with him like he's a massive problem, but towards the end, he was a big sort of concern at the back. But we would be able to cope. I mean, look, last season, the way we went out the Europa League was mainly down to him. But we got top 4 and we won Carabao Cup with David De Gea in net. So it's not like he's a dreadful goalkeeper that's going to put us mid-table. So if his contract ended next summer, then we could have used the Onana money onto something more productive, maybe a second striker, maybe a bit more money to tempt Harry Kane in, or more money in the midfield, that sort of thing. But just the way it ended was natural, and we had to make that move. And maybe that's why Onana is perceived as this bad goalkeeper, because we're not ready for him yet. But he'll stay at this club while we build into a style that's more suited to him and more suited to the manager Ten Hag. And then over time, I believe he'll become, one of the really good goalkeepers in the world, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. I do think the timing of De Gea leaving was probably the right time, just because there was a decline. I know he has been a great goalkeeper over the years, but there was a decline. I don't agree with the way he's been let go. I think that was very, very poor overall, but I think it was the right call to do that. But I think a lot of people looked at Onana in the Champions League. He's had the most clean sheets, and they was expecting that to come into Manchester United, into a whole brand new league, and he's having to deal with, I would personally say, a much better defence compared to Serie A, a much faster type league as well, and that's going to take a lot to get used to. He's having to... he's going to have to get further into his box than what he would have been used to in the Champions League, in the Italian league, because just that's simply, you can't always do that in the club, in the Premier League, unless of course you are the likes of Edison, you are the likes of Alisson, and Alisson for me is probably one of the only goalkeepers in the world right now who's good at both distribution and good with his shot stopping. If I was going to pick a goalkeeper, I would have said, get a Premier League proven goalkeeper. You look at the likes of David Raya. He was up for his final year of his contract. He's extended his contract by a further year to go on loan to Arsenal. We could have given the opportunity to say, right, can we take him on loan for a year, see how it goes?
Yeah. I think the example you gave there was David Raya, and he's a good goalkeeper. Whether he's a United goalkeeper is probably not for me. I think he was, although he kept a clean sheet against Man City, which is, quite hard to do considering they've got a machine up front, who's sort of off the ball at the moment. And, City always score goals, apart from against Arsenal. But he did look shaky in playing out from the back, especially towards the start of that game. And I've seen numerous, shots that similar to Onana that he really should be saving. So I don't want to dig too much into Raya. Yeah, but I think the basis of your whole point is correct, that maybe we could have looked at a Premier League goalkeeper and gone, yeah, I fancy better that. I mean, Robert Sanchez, he's gone to Chelsea and he's doing, all right at Chelsea. Okay, Chelsea are in a slightly turmoil like us at the moment. But in the last few games especially, I think Robert Sanchez has been doing, better than a lot of people thought. And he was out of favour at Brighton. De Zerbi basically said, no, you're not the goalkeeper for me. I'm going to resurrect Jason Steele from the, archives of the football club and then go and sign Van der Beemen or whatever his name is in goal. So, yeah, I think players like that we really could have looked at. But I don't have an issue with the goalkeeper signing it. I have quite strong beliefs that it will come good in the end, and it just takes time. And unfortunately, like we said earlier, the United fan base struggle with the concept of patience.
I just want to comment on that. When it comes to Onana, we got to remember a couple of things. The fact is we have only one ball playing center back. and he's injured, and he will probably be injured for 6 months at least. We have Maguire, we have Johnny Evans, we have Varane, we have Lindelof. None of them are ball-playing centre backs. The best ball-playing centre back we have out of those four is Johnny Evans, and he's, I don't know, 36. We also lack a deep-lying playmaker who can drop down and receive the ball. Okay, we have Amrabat now, but he has just come in lately. We have just tried him. He played 3 games on the left back, so we haven't really seen him in this role. So we got to remember, we got to give Onana time because his working conditions haven't been the best. We have center backs who can't play with the ball, and we don't have a deep lying playmaker who can receive the ball. So it's very hard to utilize Onana for his best, his strongest, what do you call it?
Attributes.
Yeah. So I will wait on my judgment on Onana, but I believe that he will come good for us, and he will make our game more Ten Hag's way, because we want to play out from the back. We want to move up people. We want to create overloads, and we want to dominate the game and don't give the opposition any chance. We don't want to give them the ball. We want to rotate from one side to the other, cross the ball to the other side, isolate the wingers 1 against 1. Ten Hag has very, very simple patterns if you look into it, and that's what we want to see. My worry about this is that Ten Hag don't have the time to drill enough because of injuries and because we have a lot of games, and he rotates a lot. You always have like a new midfield constellation, and you don't build relationships on the pitch. But I think he will come good. But we are an impatient fan base, and if we lose a couple of games more, they will be calling for Ten Hag's head. So
some audio.
It's just the way we are. But we are emotional, and football is emotion, so we gotta accept it. But we gotta be patient. That's my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I just you were saying about our defenders, the centre backs especially. Isn't it crazy how, if you say right now, Johnny Evans has been the best defender for Manchester United this season, that's not even the most outrageous statement ever. Yeah, obviously we've had a lot of injuries, but every time he's played, I've not had a problem with him. I think he's been, he was man of the match, and I think his first game he's played, he put the ball in the back of the net, it was offside. He played that great assist for Bruno. I think it was against Burnley where we won 1-0.
And he had an offside goal.
Exactly, the offside goal. So, which wasn't really his fault because Højlund was in the way. But I think you can say, obviously, like I said, there's a lot of injuries. Basically, every one of our defenders has been injured at one point this season, apart from Johnny Evans. But, you say Johnny Evans has been our best centre-back, and, it's hard to disagree. That's just mental to me, but I know.
It's crazy. I had a question from Vincent regarding De Gea going to the women's games. He's actually been going to the women's games for years. He went to the derby last season. I was actually sat like a couple of rows down from him. He does go quite on a regular basis because he's good friends with Mary Earps, the women's goalkeeper at Manchester United. I don't think it's necessarily to get his job back. Trying to get back into the club in terms of the goalkeeper. I have heard his post applying for goalkeeper coach for the academy. But I think going to the Champions League game, I think it was there more for support for the team. And I did say on my social media that he's one of the only men's players who have the decency to support the women's team, and that's something I will respect him by, because you don't see many other players doing that. You see Maguire at Old Trafford, but you never see, like, for instance, Bruno Fernandes coming to watch the women's games. You don't ever watch Varane at the women's games, etc., etc. I'm not pinpointing individual players when I say this, but I don't think De Gea is doing it just to be in the club. I think he's just doing it more to support the club because he does love the club as much as because he's been here for a long time. Robin has said De Gea will be back. I'm sure either that or he's retiring. But I truly believe if De Gea was appreciated and backed, you would have got 5 more top years from the lad. I've always said De Gea wasn't our biggest issue. Our issue was scoring goals last year, not stopping them. Sigh.
Good point.
Montreal. Yeah, go on, Griffo.
Yeah, I agree. I think the two big issues from last season, actually probably not because the midfield was a big one as well, but De Gea and the striker situation were two very big red flags. I think we've done well to replace them. I've had my say on Nano. I think he will come good, and I'm liking Højlund more and more. Okay, yeah, he's not hit the ground running. He's not getting Haaland numbers, and he's not scoring every week. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Højlund. And if we get service to him, if we get Rashford finally passing to him on a consistent basis, if we get Bruno back to top form, if we get a right winger who, can play the ball into him, we'll be seeing a really good striker. And there was concerns on, he scored, I don't know how many goals. It was like 9 goals in his debut season. There was big doubts that, this is a kid who's only scored 9 goals in this league in one season. This is a big risk. And of course, I'm not saying it's worked out yet because it's too early to say. But I'm really liking his movement. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him and the attributes he has. He's incredibly fast for the height he is, and the height. He's a real big physical presence in the air. Once we get clicking, it's the exact same with Onana. Once we get clicking, and we sort out midfield problems and some tweaks in defence. Once we get clicking, we won't be saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have replaced De Gea for Onana," or we shouldn't have. We had the striker situation that season. I think we've replaced them well, and just because they're not instant impacts, I think, especially with the striker situation, Erling Haaland has, like with everything else, broken the measuring stick in terms of every new striker coming, especially Højlund, because their names are similar and so forth. But it is. The measuring stick is broken in that sense because everyone sort of expects a striker to come in, a young striker, and just score hat tricks every week because Erling Haaland is that sort of player, or he certainly still is. He's in a bit of a different form, but we can't compare him to that level of player, a player that at one stage Man United could very much have had at the football club. But we've got Højlund now, and we can't expect instant results. But I'm very confident that him and Onana will be looked at as pivotal signings. I'll go as far as say pivotal signings in a season or two when stuff hopefully starts clicking more and more.
Montreal has said that doesn't excuse the conceding the goals on shots. 99% of top goalkeepers would make. Shot stopping remains the name of the game. I agree with that. Craig said people laughing at Johnny Evans. He's never been a bad defender his whole career. Age could benefit a centre back. Completely agree with that. 100%.
People overreacted a lot when Johnny Evans was signed. I never had in fact, I went as far as to say I was happy with, and I thought it was a good signing because, we didn't know necessarily what was happening with Maguire at the time. Lindelof obviously was staying. Martinez was just coming back from an injury. Varane's very injury prone. Yeah, okay, it's only real top teams like City have really good depth. And that's what we aspire to, but really good depth in centre-back positions. So I never had a problem with Johnny Evans. I saw him as an emergency backup if needs be. But he's been more than that. And that's helped us. And, just because his name's Johnny Evans and he got relegated from Leicester last season doesn't mean we can't sit here and say he's been one of our better players this season. And, if we didn't have him, who would we be playing at centre-back and where would we be? So I was always a fan of the Johnny Evans signing, and I'm glad that it's worked out for him, especially, and it's only for a year. It's not like he's signing for 3 years, but he's been a very good player up until this stage.
Yeah, exactly. You just want someone who's reliable as a backup, and that's what you've got. A reliable goalkeeper. He loves the club. He knows what he's doing. He's great at defending. He's great with his tackling. I think he was great at Leicester. I don't think we should have sold him when we did under Van Gaal. I think that was probably a mistake that I would personally say. So, yeah, I think he's a better cover than. I think he was more of a cover of what people expected him to be.
It's probably one of the smartest bits of business the club has done in a long time, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah. Thank you as well, Zane, for the super chat. United and Arsenal should go for Tony. I think he will join us. Yeah, I'd love to sign Ivan Tony. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a fantastic striker. I've always been a fan of him. I know the opinions are differing here.
Arsenal. What are Arsenal going to do with Tony? They have, how many strikers do they have? They have Nketiah and Jesus.
I think Tony's an upgrade on the pair then, to be honest.
You think?
Yeah, I think it's I'm not a personal fan of having two really, really, really good strikers at the football club. And you look at, and people always say, look at Haaland and look at Alvarez for City, it works. Number one, that's City. That's a completely different ballgame. They're operating on a completely different level. Secondly, how often does Alvarez necessarily play up front? He's more of a player that's playing sort of behind Haaland now, or maybe slightly out wide on occasion.
Winger.
Exactly. And look, again, we're not going to be comparing Højlund to Haaland, but if Højlund is going to get anywhere near the striker Haaland is, you're going to want to play him most weeks. Meaning a player like Tony is not going to get much game time. So I think the ideal situation would be to get a player like Julian Alvarez that could, play if Højlund got injured or something or suspended, could play there, but also could be utilised on the wing perhaps, or in an attacking role if Bruno's injured or needs a rest or something. I'm not a fan of, and I've never really seen Tony play anywhere else but striker. There's no doubting Tony will be a great striker, and I think he'd really, really suit an Arsenal or a Chelsea or a team like that. But in terms of having two really, 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 really good strikers, which Højlund hopefully will be and Tony is, it's just not for me. And I know a lot of people might disagree with that, but just on my personal opinion, that's not what I necessarily want.
Yeah, I think there's so many great. Sorry, Maisy. I just say there's so many great strikers out there, and we were linked to this Brazilian wonder kid from Santos this summer, and I believe he would be like a Julian Alvarez signing. So I think we need some players like that who can complement Højlund and not push him out of the team. So I agree a little bit with Griffo, and I don't think we need two great strikers, but I would like an up-and-coming striker who can fill in when needed.
Yeah.
To be honest, though, the only thing that lets me down about Ivan Toney is his attitude. When I've seen videos where he says F Brentford, who's Brentford? And I think that's disrespectful when that is a club that built... Yeah, I've seen the videos. When he's drunk, he's done it in Ibiza. And stuff like that is really... I think this is a club that made you the player you are. Especially when Newcastle let you go and you wasn't it for Peterborough. So that's what my opinion is on that. But I think he's a fantastic striker. I've rated him for so long and I've wanted him at the club. But I think that's the only thing that lets me down. People are saying Osimhen. We don't have the wingers to complement Victor Osimhen, in my opinion. I'd like Osimhen, but is Rashford going to provide for Osimhen? Is Anthony going to provide for Osimhen? No. It's not going to work out. It'll be another definition of what people will call the flop. The only striker who I've always said Man United will be best with is a type of Harry Kane, because no other striker is going to suit this current system at Man United and will be deemed as a flop, unfortunately, even if they're trying their absolute hardest. Zane has put another super chat in for £10. Thank you very much, Zane. It's clear Casemiro can't take the pace of this league. Who will you get to replace him? I see Cas joining Saudis in the summer. I don't think it's not that he can't take the pace of the league, because he's shown that he can take the pace last season. I think he's very tired right now. He's played every game for Brazil as well as us pretty much, minus the suspensions. We've got Amrabat, who I would say will replace him.
Yeah, I think for Casemiro, give him the support he needs in midfield and then make a judgment. But I hark back to Liverpool and Fabinho. 2 seasons ago, I thought Fabinho was one of the best CDMs in the world. He probably was. Last season, the fall off, I've never seen anything like it from a player like that in terms of the fall off. And now he's moved on to pastures new. So it's possible. And obviously, Casemiro was such a big part of why we enjoyed a cup win and a top 4 qualification last season. But, it's possible that perhaps we got 1 season out of him and now age may be affecting him. He's not as old as you think, is he? He's only like 30, 31. 31. So, I mean, it's not as old as I thought he was, especially. So maybe he's got a few years. But, yeah, like I said at the start, give him an Amrabat. Give him 5 games with an Amrabat. See how it works with support there. A midfield that actually is a system and works coherently with each other, and then make that judgment. And, I'm not disagreeing with Zane. I can see Cassie sort of slowing down a little bit now and then going to Saudi in the summer. I can totally see that. But now's not the time to make that judgment. Because if we're frank, it's so easy to judge all of the players in this rut that we're currently in and say, oh, sack all of them off because everyone's playing poorly. You've got to make judgments when it's a fair platform and there's fair ground to make judgment, and give Amrabat to Casemiro, give him that sort of balance, and we can see.
I want to comment on this question to Maisy.
Yes, I was about
talking in your mouth. I'm so sorry, but I just want to say, Saint Miasi's comment is clear that Casemiro can take the pace in this league. I disagree a little bit. I think he can take the pace because a central midfielder deep lying don't need to have this pace as other like wingers and fullbacks and relies on. It comes a lot about his routine and how he plays himself in front of the ball and to the other players. I think Casemiro can easily play a couple of seasons more for you in Man United. He's only 31, as you mentioned, Griffo, but he needs some support, and he can't play every game because when you get older, you need a little bit of rest. But you can see one of the best, greatest midfielders, they always like come through when they are a little bit up in their 30s. I talk about Luka Modric and Pirlo and all of those technical midfielders, but I believe that Casemiro can play a couple of more seasons as long as he's motivated to play for our club. He's good enough, in my opinion. But we need a backup plan, and that's why I'm looking forward when we get Mainu, for example, coming in. I think he can fill in as a understudy for Casemiro a couple of seasons, and that will be like a perfect combination. And Maisy, can you bring out the Yale Malmin comment? It's a little bit up here. It's on 12:34 a.m. right before the super chat from Saint Miasi. Yale Malmin.
Okay,
He mentioned something that triggered me.
While Maisy finds that comment, I just think back to
Jarle Malmin.
This one.
Yeah. But I just before that comment comes in, you look at how important a CDM is. You look at Man City right now that they're I'm not going to say they're struggling, but they're having a little dip in form that's unlike Man City. Okay, De Bruyne is out injured, Haaland's not firing all cylinders, but a lot of that comes down to Rodri. He plays for Man City, but I cannot sing the praises of Rodri enough. I generally think he's probably top 3, top 5 players in the world, and I'm not speaking about like CDMs. I'm speaking about just general players because I think that's how important he is. He's got the whole package, and that's the sort of CDM every club wants, and it's such a crucial position. It's so hard to play that I think that he warrants a sort of top 5 in the world, unfortunately. But we got really good stuff out of Casemiro last season. Really good stuff. Yeah. We need to get there again, and time will tell.
This Jale comment, Jale Malmin is Norwegian, so I know him. He's Mr. Pepperoni Pizza himself. He's a great guy, and he says, I learned today that United got eyes on Nusa from Club Brugge, a Norwegian wonder kid who can become big. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about Nusa. Yeah, he was last year. He was the youngest player ever to score in the Premier League. No, in the Champions League. And actually, I have prepared a little slide on is it the right? No, it's not the right slide. Sorry, I gotta find it right.
I felt like I'm at school.
Yeah.
Gonna get a teacher.
No, that's not it. No. That's not it. It's another show. Okay, you can just post it so people can have a laugh. Where is it? Oh, I gotta find it from my computer because I never used it before. Here it is. Here it is. It's this one, I think. Antonio Nusa. Yes. Oh, it's loading. You can bring back the Jarvis Rick Astley picture if you want, so people can have it. It's beautiful. It looks like.
Was that you?
No, that's Rick Astley, but everybody calls me Rick Astley for some reason. But if you want take it back, you can see because
I can see it.
We are splitting images.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's not me. It's Rick Astley. You know the guy. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let
I like that
you
song.
down.
That's uncanny.
I genuinely thought that was you.
It's not.
This is freaky.
Right, is this the one, Jarvis?
This is the one where, so I can comment on. So this is Antonio Nusa. He plays for Club Brugge and Norway. He's a left winger. He's really technical. He's young, and if you take the next slide, you know he was a professional football player for Club Brugge in Belgium. He's born in Norway, 2005, so he's really young. He has a Nigerian citizenship, but he's also born and raised in Norway, so he plays for Norway now. And he's a left winger, but he can play all across the front line, like on the right, in the center, and on the left. And he's been nicknamed the Norwegian Neymar because he has incredible skills. So if you haven't seen him, you should check him out. And he's the youngest ever player to score in the Champions League. He scored in his debut at the age of 17. So he has some incredible stats. So I just want to give you guys a heads up on Nusa. And when Jale said that Man United are interested in Nusa, that will be a great signing in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I've said previously on a few of these fan panels that the last position that we need to be looking into is wide players, because I think we've got enough. But if we were to sign a wide player, it would be a young player like Nusa, because we have Rashford, we have Garnacho, we've got Ahmed, who people seem to forget about because he's injured. We've got Pellistri. Okay, the Anthony, we don't know necessarily for how long Anthony is gonna last at United in terms of his footballing ability. We don't know the situation on Sancho, so okay, we're on the bare bones there. But I think a player like Nusa, so he can come in and really develop, it is a really good signing, and that's sort of the only sort of signing I want to see out wide, because I think apart from that, we do have a good bit of depth there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, completely agree.
And I can just add that he has played. I don't know. Yeah, he played yesterday when we lost against Spain 1-0. But before that, he had played 3 games for the national team, and he had 4 assists and 2 goals, I believe. So he has been really creative, and him and Haaland had a great connection, and he provided him with a couple of assists when he scored against Malta. And yeah, so I see big things happening for this young kid.
Mm-hmm. Be interesting.
That's the signings we should be making. That's that. At the end of the day, that's the signings we should be making. We should be perhaps not operating on a level like Brighton, where they sign completely unknown people, but we should be making these young signings. For too long now, United have been signing household names, and see, that's why I like signings like Malacia. Not many people had heard of him. He's a young guy on the fringes. He did well at Feyenoord. Bring him in, give him a chance. I like what I see from him when he plays. It's about making those signings, and if they don't work, they don't work. You're not going to pay masses and masses and masses amounts for these players if they don't work. I mean, United have had many, many, many expensive flops. No one's going to care if a player flops who only cost 20, 25 million. So, yeah, those are the signings that United really should be making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed. With that, we will wrap it up. Thank you, Griffo. Thank you, Jarvis, known as Rick Astley, for coming on. I hope you're gonna give us a nice sing song before we go, Jarvis.
No.
Yes, please.
I don't know my singing today. Maybe next time, if you guys tune in and remember to hit the like and subscribe. Piggy's on his way to 100,000, so it's very important. Subscribe.
For sure. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe. Griffo, would you like to shout out your socials?
Yeah, it's at Charlie Griffo1 on Twitter or X or whatever it's called these days. At Charlie Griffo1 on Twitter. That's basically it.
Thank you very much, Griffo, and Jarvis, Rick Hassler. Thank you as well. Would you like to shout out your socials?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. It's Bowley77. So just add me, and I will add people back. I like talking to people on Twitter, and you can find me on MUFC Realist TV and United Real Therapy with Nuruddin. So that's the places where you can find me, and I usually go on live on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, whatever, when news happening.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Have you got an album out? Have you got an album coming out around for Christmas time, Rick?
Maybe.
Oh, I'll be looking forward to watching
that.
Yeah, check them both out on socials. Thank you all as well for coming in. Thank you to Robin Hood. Thank you to Rajat, the Hoop Man, the Weekly Steel Chair, Craig, Duncan, Montreal, Avenger Mast. Madhouse as always said please don't sing. So I don't know. Have you got a bad singing voice, Jarvis? If you mind
No,
I
can't sing. I can't sing.
Okay. Tommy, thank you as well for coming in. I know Ravi was in earlier on, so thank you to Ravi, Niall Kane as well, Ivo, Vincent too, and congratulations to becoming the new to membership. He was gifted a membership earlier on, so congratulations to that. Thank you all for coming on. Hit that like, share, subscribe. Take care, everyone. Have a lovely night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.